So Khalees, you not only are you doing mental coaching and just helping people repair and get through. I also saw you on TV. What you got going on, Khalees? Now you're a reality TV star in Sweden. I'm seeing commercials on TV here in Denmark. I'm like, man, she is on
Really?
fire. What you got going on, Khalees? Hey, 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 welcome to another episode of the Couch with Rob Fields. I'm your host, Rob Fields, and today we are bringing another legend to the show. She's a lady with many irons in the fire right now. She's a mental coach. She's a basketball coach. She's a fee for non say. Somebody put a ring on it. She's on TV. And with all of that, she is a legendary former professional basketball player. But ladies and gentlemen, give big hand claps to Khalees Loyd. Yeah, 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 yeah,
What I
yeah, yeah.
do? Hey, everybody.
What's up, Khalees? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I saw you over the summer, and instantly I was just like, first off, I was happy to see you. It's been a very long time.
Same.
But then we talked a little bit when we found out that we're both in the transition stage. So
Yes.
we had a ton to talk about. We couldn't stay too long because we were there for basketball stuff.
Right, right.
But yeah, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you on. I'm excited about this one.
I am too. I mean, just like you said, we're in that transition zone, and not enough people talk about it, but it's a big part of our life.
Yeah, especially yours. You a little bit fresh in it than I am, but the feeling is mutual. It is
Yes.
mutual. So we're not going to start with what you're doing now because you got a lot going on, Khalees. But I want to start from the beginning. You are a legend in your own right as a basketball player. Played professionally for many years. College basketball, you did your thing. Where did the love come from? How do you get to be a basketball player?
I think the love for basketball grew upon me like naturally because I was quote unquote born into a basketball family. My dad played professional. Dad was a legend over here in both like Sweden and Denmark. My mom used to play. My brother played. So I think just like the dinner table talks was basketball. Days in, days out were spent in the basketball gym, and I mean it just naturally grew upon me. It would be weird if I played anything other than basketball, to be honest.
At what moment did it hit for you where you were like, I want to do this for a very long time?
I think I always just saw myself as wanting to be a basketball player. I didn't really have any other. I mean, I talked about like I wanted to be a flight attendant. I wanted to be a vet, but nothing was like basketball. Like basketball was a basketball player was what I was going to become, basically.
Yeah, and the our mutual connection, Khalees, is your dad. How was Otis Lloyd, the legend Otis Lloyd, one of my mentors? How was Otis towards you as you were coming up into the game? Was he always hitting you with the detailed stuff, like, or was he just like, "Oh, baby, it's go"? How was he with you as you were coming up?
He was hard in a sense that he was very detail orientated. Because once I committed to basketball and I committed to, I mean, learning from him, then he was like, "You either gonna listen to me or you gonna do your own thing." And we we left the basketball gym because we didn't get along, but we came right back to it the day after. So it's just like obviously he wants to pour all his knowledge into me, and at different stages in life you're ready to receive more information than others, but I give him all the credit for becoming the player who I was because I mean he made my foundation. Like I was good because he taught me the basics and everything I know about the sport.
Yeah, he taught me a lot as well. He was he was actually the first basketball mentor that I ever had. Like, and when I say mentor, I'm speaking in the sense of having someone who went out of their way just to give you a call just to see how you were doing. Like that was it was foreign to me, if a person wasn't family or a close friend. But Otis was one of those ones who he always reached out when he didn't have to, which was big for me. And then he just offered a wealth of knowledge, like just along the way. Hey, man, you need to get your paperwork. You need to set this up. When we're talking about coaches in this culture, he has some opinions about people, but he showed me the way. And then also when we're talking about a father daughter dynamic, I have a daughter who wants to play now. So you're like the picture that I'm seeing if we go on this journey together, my daughter and I, right? So it's interesting to hear that perspective. All right, so Khalees, at what point did you feel that you were like super nice? Was there a moment that you had that made you say, "Okay, I'm better than everyone else"?
I mean, it definitely took a couple of years for sure. I guess when I moved back to Sweden to play in Sweden, because I started out playing actually in Denmark. I started playing out in Virum, because dad was coaching in Virum. So in order to spend time with my dad while when my parents were divorced, he was at the gym. And so if he was coaching another team, then I mean, I wanted to play as well. So we found a team for me to play it with, and that's where I started. And then I understood early on that like this is not sustainable to just practice like Fridays and Saturdays and then play on Sundays. So obviously when I wanted to take my career, like my basketball path a little bit further and move back to Sweden, I think that's when I realized that like, okay, I'm pretty good for my age. And I was always playing with the girls that were a year older, which also meant that I could hang with them. And then I was practicing outside. I was doing a lot of extra work.
Yeah. So I mean, that's hard to do here in Europe. A lot of outside courts aren't really built well, but you took it upon yourself to just go and get that extra work.
Me and my dad was out on the concrete. We was out in the concrete. I have scrapes. I had bruises. I didn't challenge him to one-on-one games. Came home with a busted lip. My brother came home with a busted lip. So, I mean, where there was a goal, that's where we was at.
How old is your brother?
Brother is 10 years older than me. So at this point, he's 45. Yeah.
So you had Big Bro to get out there and give you some real work to kind of rough you up a little bit.
No, my dad busted our lips. It wasn't my brother. It was my dad. He busted my lip. He's busted my brother's lip. He wasn't going to let us win for nothing. But that's where we got the work in. If we didn't have access to a gym, which honestly we were fortunate enough to have just because my dad's always been a coach as long as I've known him. So we always had the keys to the gym. But in the summer times, we was out on the concrete. We've been courts in Spain when we went on vacation. We've been courts in Greece when we went on vacation. We found a court somewhere, always.
It's only vacation after workouts.
Got to get a little bit of workout in. But also, the work that I was putting on early on was the reason why I was good.
There you go. That's the separation. I mean, you're coaching some young players, and I'm doing the same. And I think a lot of the young players think that the game is built in practice.
Yeah, no, it's built in the summer times, in my opinion.
You really getting some chops and really getting some real game is built away from your team.
For sure.
It could be on those courts where people might not be that good at basketball, but you get to work on your stuff.
Yep.
You get to work on your right-handed finishes if you're a left-hander. You get to work on your offhand. Maybe play defense, take some risk. When you are playing to win and you have refs and all of this stuff on the court, then you can't take that many risks unless you just that person, right? But I try to tell people like this is how you build your skill. This is how you build your character. You go out there when we're not in the gym training and you get some good shots up or work on your ball handling for an hour. It's just something about our muscle memory that does something for us. And a lot of the kids just think, hey, I can come to practice hard, practice hard for 2 hours and then I'm good. Nah, man, it's levels to it.
Oh, for sure. And I think practicing with teams gives you, it's not necessarily about the skills that you're learning in practice throughout the season. That's more about like building a team, camaraderie, being with a group of people. Whereas like when you work out outside of that and you work out in the summer times, that's when you're actually getting to detail work. We wouldn't work out more than 45 minutes, max an hour. Like you don't need to put in the time, but you need to put in quality in what you're doing. And that's the difference. The game is just a way for you to test out what you've been practicing. That's where you get those that defense that you can't mimic in practice. That's where you get those unexpected things where it's like, I've been working on my slides, and can I actually do it in a game as well? Like that's where you're testing it out. But all the development happens outside of the practice with the team and outside of the games.
I also thought that was some of the most fun stuff too,
Yeah. You get the most
because
reps in.
you get the most reps in. Those are to be the times that you cursing yourself out because you have to hit five in a row, like Otis used to tell us to do. He's like, all right,
Consistency.
seven in a row, 10 in a row,
Consistency.
and you start kicking yourself in the butt because it's like, man, I got four, and I got to go all the way back to zero. All right, so you building character. This is like those bad reps are what gets you those game winners or those 30-point games or those 40-point games. Those bad reps, those times when your trainer or your dad is pissing you off, that's how you
Yep.
get to the big leagues.
And also as a woman in the sport, a lot of people don't know. I worked out with my dad's boys teams for many years in the summertime. When they had workouts, I would be there working out with them. I could hang with them boys. Like as I was getting older, I could hang with them. When he asked to do 7 in a row on the free throws, like you talking about, it was easy for me because it was ingrained in me.
Hmm.
The shooting competitions, they were easy to me, even with boys, because I had been doing those things for ages before that. So I knew that I could hang with the boys, and practicing with boys made me step outside of my comfort zone because I needed to protect the ball a little bit more. I needed to be quicker with my release. Like they taught me those things that playing against women couldn't teach me, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Taking so you learn how to be great outside of your comfort zone.
All the time.
Right. And speaking of comfort zones, you went from Europe and you found yourself in college in the United States of America. That is not easy to do for those of you who are watching. It's a culture shift. The intensity is a lot different. It's because even if you play on a high level in Europe, it's intense. But when you go over to the States, you have people not only playing with intensity, but they're playing from a place of desperation.
Mm.
Like basketball is the only option. So, how did you adjust to that? And was it very difficult in the early stages?
Big question in a sense of there was a lot of things happening for me. I think first off, I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be easy for me to adjust just because I am quote unquote half American. But I never grew up in the States. I only spent the summers there. So that in itself is a culture shock or a culture shift for me. Being in Southeast Texas, also dealing with situations of racism, and just having to navigate that space by myself. And then also the whole point of me leaving Sweden to go to college was because I felt like I couldn't grow anymore. I wasn't challenged mentally on the court, physically on the court, and I knew I needed a different zone to be in because I was cocky when I was younger because I was good. But nobody was challenging me in that. If I told everybody in the room that I was the best player, people would just agree. And I needed someone to say, nah, like she's not better than me. And then I would be like, all right, cool. Like, let's go head to head. But nobody would do that with me in Sweden. So I needed to leave because I'm like, I want to be challenged. Like I want to get better. And so when I went in there, I went in with the mentality of knowing like, hey, like this is not going to be easy. You're going to have to work for everything. But I also chose the place to play based upon knowing that this was a system that was going to work for me. Like I didn't just pick a school just to pick a school. I picked it because of its like famous name, like a big school, like a USC or a Notre Dame. Like obviously I didn't have offers from them either, but some of them were bigger, more famous schools than what I picked.
Hmm.
But having my dad's guidance, we looked at who was already a sophomore, a junior, a senior on the roster, who am I fighting against for playing time? Being already, I think I was like 6 foot when I left for college. Are they going to put me in the post? Like, am I going to move? Like, am I going to go from being a point guard going into like a post position? Look at all those things. Whereas like sometimes you just feel like, oh, I got a scholarship, I want to go. So
Right.
breaking down all those things, it wasn't guard heavy. I was going to be able to keep playing at a guard position. My coach said that, look, if you're you work hard, you're going to get playing time. So I didn't go into a situation where it was like, no, it's only upperclassmen who play. If you're good enough and you work hard enough, then you're going to get a chance to play. So also knowing that a lot of things were in my control helped motivate me to go there and, do what I'm supposed to be doing, which is working hard and becoming better.
Yeah, and it's if you have a certain pedigree, you're gonna find your way, right? So you had the the training for that task, but I've talked to a couple of other people about the transition from Europe, especially Northern Europe, right? Scandinavia. You know, life is pretty good for most people over here, right? So you go and you're playing against someone who is literally in college because they get 3 meals and they get a little cash on the side, that they can send home. When you playing with someone who's playing for survival, it's a different mentality. And I always liken it to being, hanging, kind of running with wolves. If you don't become one of the wolves, you become food essentially,
Yes.
you know. So the fact that you were able to go over there and not only stay and graduate and do your thing, but you found success. Like you were playing well, not only with your group of your pack of wolves, but you were going against the other wolves and getting busy.
Yeah, I
You
wanted
know,
to be an alpha. I wanted to be a leader. I didn't go there just to be a part of a team. I went there to be great. Like I understood that greatness takes success, so I was willing to do the work every year, but I didn't want to just go and get my degree. I wanted to for it to be more than that. So I also knew and I also felt it very very clearly that why did they go to Sweden and get this girl here? I knew it wasn't love. Like you could have went anywhere in the States. You could have went anywhere in Texas, but you went to Sweden. So what's so special about her? So I already knew that I had like everybody was already gunning for me. So I already knew that I needed to be better than what everybody like was expecting for me to be. So the 6 a.m.s, like, we had to finish in like a 6 minute mile, I think it was. Well, I couldn't just finish at a 6 minute mile. I needed to be the first or second in that mile. So I had a French girl that was there at the same time as me. Her and me are going head to toe finishing that 6 minute mile. For us, we knew we needed to come over there and prove like why we were there. So I always knew I needed to be the best. I needed to be good. Like the cardios, the morning conditionings, like I couldn't just finish. I needed to show to everybody this is why I'm here because I'm already putting in the work and I'm already better.
that's that alpha energy, Khalees. You know what I mean? You can't go out and buy that, Khalees. That's in you. It
Yeah.
ain't on you. It's in you.
Yeah.
you know.
But because
Yeah.
I was motivated. I knew why I wanted to go there. I didn't want to come to be a part. I didn't want to be like the rest. I wanted to be great.
Before we move on from Lamar, give me your favorite moment from college, and that could be on court, whatever. Give me your favorite moment that stamps your college experience as a basketball player who did it. Do you have one moment?
Ooh. I mean, I would say there's two. My freshman year, so I got redshirted my first year there because of paperwork. So my first year that I actually played, we won the conference and we went to the NCAA tournament. The only time throughout my college career that we went to the NCAA tournament. So that happening my freshman year was huge because like it set the standard this high up for the rest of my career.
Hmm.
The second one would have been breaking the scoring record at Lamar. I mean, it was a 20-year-old standing record, and I mean to be able to go in and start producing very early on. I mean, you look at it now, a lot of people transferring. It's hard to break records.
Yep. It's hard to get in that record book because everybody's moving around.
Yes.
You know, for me, I was fortunate to have the same coach for 4 years, but I could only imagine what it's like to have 4 coaches in 4 years, or you have this going on, but then someone offers you 85K, 100K at another school, like that. It has to be conflicting for the young folks.
For sure.
But I do miss college basketball being a place where we could find that loyalty and, you
Yes.
know, just that culture, right? Like, we had old school coaches that when they had players come through, you knew exactly what was about to happen. This person is going to be around for a long time. You know what I mean? But it's just different now, and I don't. I I think I can see it when I'm watching the game, which is problematic.
I
It
think it's
doesn't look the
that.
same.
Yeah, it doesn't look the same, but I also think that one thing that college teaches us, or at least back in the day before you had the transfer portal and stuff, is that you had to sit through discomfort. Either whether it was like not playing a lot as a freshman, you had to sit through it. Hopefully you would see better light, as your years went on. And the goal is for you to consistently get better each year. You look at my stat line. My stat line got better each single year that I was at Lamar. Every single year it was better. So I was still in a comfort zone, in a safe space. I had a roof over my head. I had classes, but I was challenged every single year in the basketball court. And that's why I had better stats every single season. And now, as soon as things get a little iffy and you get like, it's a little discomfort and you're not liking the situation or you're not playing, it's like, okay, well, let me jump ship. Let me find a better situation. But grass isn't always greener. They say that for a reason.
And I think a lot of these kids are using the money as an excuse
Yeah.
as well. Oh, yeah, they're just gonna pay me a little bit more over here. No, 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 no. It ain't all about the money. You saw who was coming in, and you ain't want none of that smoke.
Yeah.
Like, that used to be something as well, where you knew you were going to be at school. Your coach was going out and recruiting in your position.
Yeah.
Just to put some fire under your butt.
Yeah.
And maybe if this person comes in and you are comfortable, like we talked about, now you start to lose your minutes.
Yes.
It's a great. College was great for me. I appreciate that because it sets you up for life after basketball, where there's still competition. So but yeah, I wanted to also ask you about your Lamar experience, because Khalees, when we're in it, we never really give ourselves credit.
Oh no, it's
We
all
because
like,
you're living in the moment.
yeah, you are living in the moment. You look back and it's like, I was at Lamar for 5 years, but it felt like it just passed by so fast.
Yep, and you have no time to really enjoy it, or to really enjoy that 25-point game or that 30-point game, because it's like, if I can score 30 here, I need to do it again next week.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to just be happy and just be sitting here chilling. Nah, the other team is gunning for me. I got this person who's trying to get my minutes, and then I'm trying to be great. Like you said, it's really hard to enjoy it. That's why I wanted you to talk about yourself a little bit,
Mm.
because you need to let the people know, like, hey, I'm doing a lot of stuff now, but I was super nice.
Yeah, I was, but it was also, I thought I think it's such a cool transformation that you make when you go in as a freshman, you leave as a senior. It's like you have a wealth of knowledge and yeah, a wealth of knowledge, but also like so much more in your bag when you're like 17, 18 and naive going into college, and then you leave and you're like, yeah, a young adult, 22, 23, and life is different at that point when you graduate, and you also nerve-wracking because life is about to hit you.
It's about to hit you for sure. So, Khalees, we could talk about your professional career. Of course, you've had a ton of ups. It goes to say, for a person with the resume that you have, you played a long time. So we could talk about the ups, but for us as athletes who do it, who's able to do it after college, we never really get to talk about those downs.
Mm.
We tend to go through the downs on an individual level, or we have close friends, families. If you have a spouse, you deal with it with them, but it's a very isolated experience. Tell me how you were able to navigate through multiple injuries, not getting paid on time. You in the mental coaching space right now. How were you able to deal with that when you were going through it, when you were in the mix?
I think early on, understanding what an actual professional career is, like when we hear that you're a professional, I think a lot of times we think of the NBA and we think of all these the big teams, the Real Madrids and Fenerbahce's, like we think of that and we think of it's like glorious. And I think pretty early on I started understanding that it's not that. College was even much more glorious than I would say like my professional career was, like hotel stays and travel and stuff like that. So I think early on just accepting the situation for what it was. I knew early on that I started out in Romania. I knew that I wanted to be one and done in Romania. Like I am here for one reason and one reason only. That is to get great stats and to sign a better contract and never come back to Romania. Like that was my main goal. So I already knew.
I'm
Like
not laughing. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just. We were in Romania uh, with the national team, and I'm sure there's some really sweet people there. But it was a rather challenging experience.
absolutely.
Just from day to day, and we were there for like 10 days. So when you're talking about Romania, I'm
Yes.
chuckling not because of your situation, but
You remember the 10
just
days that you were there. I was there for a season. And it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't the people. I just came from college. Like I came from, we didn't have private jets, but we still traveled, with airplanes and very high quality buses. We stayed at the Hiltons and the Marriotts. Like the food was, real nice spread at the hotels. Whereas like, in Romania, we got mystery meat. Like I didn't know what part of the chicken this was. They guaranteed it was chicken, but I couldn't even tell what part it was. So the day to days was just, I need to get out of here. Like I really need to do my job and get out of here.
yeah. I mean, so you just so your way of processing everything that was going on was just let's just get through it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So all right. So we can pivot this way. If you are speaking with someone who's in that same predicament,
Yes.
how would you coach them through that? Would you say, "Hey, look at the light is at the end of the tunnel. Just keep pushing forward. Don't go back," or would you say, "Yo, just bite the bullet. You here now."
Well, I think the biggest piece of advice that I got before I went 100% professional was my agent. He told me, your professional career, don't see it as a sprint, see it as a marathon. Like if you go play for the best team tomorrow, then what is there to do after that? Our goal is for it to be a marathon. By the end of your career, you want to be playing your best basketball. You want to, play for the best team that you're able to play for. That is, that should be your goal. So I quickly understood, like, where is it that I want to go? Like, what are the leagues that I want to play in? And I knew early on that I wanted to play in France. Now, the door wasn't open to France when I first started playing professional. So my second goal was then, all right, play as well as I can in Romania so that I can then open doors for other countries and other teams. And fortunate enough, the team I played on in Romania was a Euro Cup team. So I knew that that was already like exposure throughout Europe, and played well. And then I signed a contract in France my following year.
Okay, so yeah, so that all right. So your agent really coached you through it.
Yeah.
Like it's not about where you are; it's
Yeah.
about where you're trying to
Correct.
go.
And then
So play the long game, essentially.
it has to be the long game, because if not, what are you doing? Like you have to be able to, like I said, you want to progress every year. So for me, it was playing on a better team or having like a bigger role every year. It's always like one step forward. It might not be a gigantic step, but it might be this team, it's in a worse league, but it's more responsibility. Or it might be a better team, a smaller role, but you're playing against better people. It was always one step forward, but it didn't have to be a ginormous leap, because we don't want to go too fast and then I don't have a good season or I'm not playing well, and then now we're needing to find side steps. One step forward every season. And fortunately, even with my Achilles injuries, I was still able to take like one step forward every single season.
Yeah, because you went through the big one. That's why I asked you about those downs because that's not easy. You as soon as that Achilles tear happens, I can imagine. I haven't had one, but I can imagine it's like seeing your career, your whole career flash before your eyes, right? Just like it is a wrap. This is what a lot of people. I'm sure you think. just for a second, but then you snap back into it and say, okay, time to get back on the court.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was your mentality? Did you have that thought process as to, oh crap, this is problematic, or you were just like, all right, when are we getting surgery? What was your mindset when you tore your Achilles?
My first year when I tore my Achilles, I actually didn't know that I tore it. It was a weird tear, so it wasn't like determined super clearly. It took a long time to actually get my diagnosis. I think that once I got the diagnosis, it was, and I had my surgery, then it was like, all right, what's next? And I mean, I took my rehab as part of my job. Like just as I would go get extra reps in at the gym, I would get extra reps in, training my Achilles or like just sticking to the program. And
Mhm.
I did that really well. I had a good agent that assured me that, like, all right, if you're doing your part of it, I will be doing mine. And I already had contracts lined up, even with that. Like they were just because I tore it early on in both the seasons I tore it, so I was ready to go by the next season.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
downside with being injured is that they lowball you, and it was disgusting because, like, yes, we changed the tire on the car, but the car is still the car.
Mhm.
Like I still have a minimum like value, and they're able to lowball it, but I was able to see past that because I played the long game. I wanted a better job every season. So yes, this was even a better team than I played for the year before that. I had one of France's best point guards on the team. I had Celine Dumer. Like she was, like I said, one of the best to ever play in France. I had her as a point guard. I knew this was not a sidestep because I took a pay cut. It was a step forward because I'm playing with a commander.
Yeah, and she's probably going to make your job a lot easier anyway.
It was so easy to play with her because all she said was like, "You will get the ball when you're supposed to have the ball." So all I needed to do was follow the offense. Like if I'm open, the ball's going to be there. And I never questioned like why I didn't get the ball or why didn't I do this. We were 8-0 starting the season out. Like it was easy playing basketball. It's the easiest time I ever played basketball.
It's so crazy to see how things just progress and not forcing the issue, because I can imagine you were thinking about the money, but then by you taking a little bit less, you get to play with someone who's going to make your job easier anyway. So who knows, if you would have took a bigger bag somewhere else, you probably would have had to carry the load, be a facilitator, scorer, best defender.
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
when you have a good point guard, that changes the game. Speaking of just the state of women's basketball, Khalees, I know you're seeing an uptick in women's basketball, especially in the WNBA. There's a very exciting 3-on-3 tournament going on right now. They're really selling the game of women's basketball. It's basketball essentially, but of course, the women are represented. How do you feel about the state of women's basketball in 2025?
It's amazing. Like, and I'm gonna say that it's a testament to all the hard work that we as women have been doing for years, for years. But I think the upswing of social media and like the NIL and all these things coming into play as well. Like honestly, I think that they started all that because of the men's side. Like NIL, it came all because of men. However, what they're seeing is like it's benefiting women even more. Like men might be getting the bags, but the women are getting the exposure. And so for years we've been doing this, we just haven't got the exposure, and now we're finally getting the exposure, and all the markets are shining. Like gymnastics is shining, basketball is shining, tennis is shining. Like we're shining on all fronts, and people can't deny that it's exciting.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's storylines attached to the game now. I mean, there's fashion. I mean, there's clothing deals. There's brand deals. There's again that new 3-on-3 league it's full court 3-on-3, but it's really exciting.
It's super
You
exciting, but
know,
also because women get to sit at the table, women get a part of it.
they're getting their share now, and
Yeah,
and I think for us as basketball players, especially from men, I can speak for me being a man. Me loving the game so much, I don't see a difference between the two. If you can hoop, you can hoop,
exactly.
and and when you break it down like that, when you get an opportunity to see some of these games, you're saying to yourself like, "Oh my god, like she can go, like
Yeah.
she can play basketball. This is what we're here for."
Yes.
All the rest of the extra stuff, I just feel is super sexist and just one sided and weird. Like if she can play, she can play.
And I think, and
That's my take on it,
but I
and
think
I
that's
think
what
that's the way
people
it should
are.
be.
I think that's what people are understanding now is that we can play. Like we might not. Well, shit. There's a lot of women who are dunking now as well. But okay, we can't do that on a consistent like basis as men can. But that's the only thing setting us apart. And so that's what I agree with you. Like it is sexist. And honestly, I don't know any names of any male playing in the NCAA tournament this year. I know a whole bunch of female players, and I think you ask the majority of the people, they can name more female players than they can male players.
Yeah, that's true.
You know from Juju, Paige, like there's the Notre Dame, the girls playing at Notre Dame, like Texas, at Dawn Staley coaching at South Carolina. There's so many female names in the mix right now, and how many do you know that are male?
And that's a fair argument. Where are the characters? Where's the personality? Like that, women's basketball, they I mean, look at Caitlin Clark. Like
Yeah,
Caitlin Clark is
Angel
a
Reese.
phenom,
Yes,
angel, a phenom. I mean, Asia Wilson, like
and she's
one
been
of,
doing
I
it for
mean,
so many years, and
dominated.
she's just now getting her flowers. Just now,
You know what? I'm happy for Asia that she was able to get a piece of this.
she deserves it.
This
Yes,
shine that
yes,
women's basketball is getting. I'm happy that she's not a 15-year vet at
yeah,
this point.
absolutely.
She's right in her prime at the correct time. And life is about timing, right? But I'm happy that she's able to get a piece of this and that
Mm.
she didn't miss this. Like
Yeah.
maybe Sue Bird, she retired right before this kicked off. Diana
Yes.
Taurasi was on the back end, so she wasn't really playing that great. So she didn't even get the just due for her being a straight beast
Yes.
on the court.
Yes.
You
But
know,
all of this is built off what they did
exact. That's the foundation
because they've been playing so well at such a high level for so many years. It
for so
wasn't
long.
recognized, and now finally, like you know, we're getting there.
Yeah, we can have a conversation about this. We could keep going,
I
Khalees, but
know.
I
I
ain't gonna
know.
hold you. I ain't gonna hold you. So, Khalees, you like I said at the beginning of the show, you have a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot. Um, I saw you over the summer, and you were a part of the Swedish national team under 20, right?
Correct.
And you were on the sidelines, and I got to see one of your games, and I just really could tell how you were empowering the players. Just the interaction is it when you see coaches on the sideline. For me, when a player comes out of those games, I like to see the interaction that the coaches have with the players. How is the player taking that information, right? And I can tell that the players had the utmost respect for you because when you were speaking to them, they were looking you square in your eyes. You were talking to their souls. You were connecting with them on a deeper level. How do you cultivate that? How do you build something like that? Because all great players aren't good coaches. How do you give that energy to the players and can be effective in that manner?
I think because the role I had, I was a mentor for them, so I wasn't there to be their basketball coach. I was there for them as humans. And also having been in their role when you're 20 and you're, transitioning from either like, playing in your country to maybe going to college or coming back after 1 year in college and knowing that you're going through a lot of changes right now. A lot of changes are happening inside of you. They're happening on the court as you're developing as a player and just being able to strip away all that noise and just connect with them as like what's going on, like how can we reframe what's happening. All right, so you had a bad possession, what can you do next, like how are you responding to that and reflecting back to them things in a more positive light, because it's easy to get down on yourself. And so if you don't have coaches that are uplifting you or challenging you, then it's also harder and you're feeling lost. Like I always say that, like as a coach, you have such a tremendous impact on your players because you're not there just to do X's and O's. You're also there to lead them. Whether you're leading 12-year-olds or 16-year-olds or even, 25-year-olds, you are a leader first. A leader
Yep.
first, a coach second. And I think that sometimes they forget about the leader role. And I think that role is more important than the actual coach role because honestly, it doesn't really matter. Of course, it matters a little what you know about basketball, but if you're able to lead them and roll them in the right direction, that's going to take them further than the actual X's and O's and the tactics.
Just having a conversation with you about basketball and about where we were, I said, yeah, like if you were my coach, I would be like, yeah, what we doing next, coach? Like,
But that is
what's next?
it's also a testament and a thank you to my dad because my dad coached me on a lot of different occasions before I left for college. And his foundations were solid. He take you out, he tell you don't make the same mistake twice. So when you make that second mistake, he's going to take you out the game and going to ask you, what did I just tell you? I told you not to make the same mistake twice. And it's a
Yep.
lesson learned. Or he'll say, don't get the same foul twice. Or if you're lazy on defense, he'll take you out. And are you ready not to be lazy on defense? Then cool. But his reasons were justified. I felt like, I know some people hated playing for him all right. But I love playing for him because he always held me accountable, always accountable. And
That's
that's
it.
what always made me a good player and always made me a leader because if something was asked of me or it wasn't asked of me, then he would be very clear about that. You're missing your defensive rotation. So you're going to come out the game. You can sit and watch and then, you get your chance again. But if you miss that same rotation that we just talked about, then you're not learning. Your basketball IQ isn't evolving.
But that's also a testament to you, Khalees, of learning that everything, of course, along the way, you start to understand that maybe what I'm learning here in practice could be very useful for me somewhere else. Because when we in it, we don't know where it's going to be useful, right? like,
No
like
idea.
I don't like I'm getting screamed on right now, but then I go out and do the correct thing, and then that same coach that was just chewing me out is now slapping me on my back like that's what I'm talking about. So if I don't make the same mistake 2 times in a row, there's something positive here.
Yeah.
Something very simple, right? But this is stuff that we're now using in life.
Yeah.
So you were able to get the deeper meaning to the sport, whereas I've seen so many people, Khalees, after they stopped playing, they didn't know what to do with their lives because they only did it just to hoop.
Yeah.
They did it for the golden nuggets, for us guys, getting some extra girls, you maybe get a little bit of cash, you get in the magazines, the newspapers. They did it for that. They didn't really take the lessons out of it. So now when you are in this space that we're in, the only thing you have are those magazine pictures, your highlight video on YouTube. You only have the medals. That's it. You didn't take any of the real lessons from the game. So that's a kudos to you for being able to see that deeper meaning. And this is what I try to teach players as well. I'm like, listen, I know it feels good to have your highlights on online on IG, but at some point in
It's gonna
time,
stop.
it ain't gonna be no more highlights. So what do you have? You have 25 years of experience in the game and a ton of lessons right here in front of you. What are you going to do with these? Are you going to disregard them? Or are you going to use them to your advantage? It's up to you. I try to teach that now. You know.
I think honestly, we as women don't have a choice.
Mm,
I think that we have to take the lessons learned in sports to help us into the next chapter. We're always thinking about, we always know that, hey, basketball is not going to last forever. And we might not make nowhere near as much as our male counterparts. So what can I do with the situation that I'm currently at and use that for the future? So whether it is, play in different countries and get a wealth of rich travel in, but still not getting paid, a whole lot. But you've traveled to so many countries, you've lived in so many different countries, you've experienced it kind of for the free because you were working, but you were getting paid for it. And then we always know that there's a next step. So what are we doing with all this that we're doing in basketball for later? Whereas men, most of them, or not even most of them, I wouldn't even say that. A lot of them just here and now, and then we'll deal with the other stuff later. And that's usually when that later backfires, because the later comes sooner than we would like.
Yeah.
And then aren't really prepared. I knew before I wanted to retire, like I didn't have a date, like I'm retiring on this date, but I knew 2 years before that I wanted to get into the space of like mental performance coaching. So I was dabbling in it and trying it out to see if this is what I like to do. I tried a whole bunch of small stuff, not just to get my feet wet while I was still playing, just to understand like what are things that I like, what are things that I don't like. To then like I'm not gonna have it all figured out by the time I leave basketball, but at least I kind of know what direction I want to take it. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what helped me now. Was transition hard? Absolutely. Like 10 times harder than what I already expected it to be.
So how do you how did you do in the gray area? Like you coming out of it, and I actually consider the gray area being that period after you play, that period in between after you play to what to you kind of finding something that makes sense. You're now coming out of the gray area, but how are you surviving in that gray? Like how was it for you?
2 years. I'm like, I'm almost out and it's been 2 years. And honestly, it's having been like resilient in it all, like to keep pushing, even on the days that I didn't push, like on the days that I had 10% and I gave 10%, that is all I had. Even on those days,
Yeah.
I also give a lot of credit to my fiance for allowing me to kind of take my time in it.
Hmm.
We had a roof over our heads. Like, there's always been food at the table. Like, we've been in a good space, him and me, to where I've been able to do this journey of discovering things as well. I realized very early on that, hey, like the stay at home role right now doesn't suit me. It might suit me in a couple of years, but right now it doesn't suit me. Like, I need a purpose. I need to feel useful. And so striving for that, taking classes, certifications and things, like dabbling in a lot of things and just sitting through it, working through it, and also having real conversations of fear, fear of failure, uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable emotions, working through those. Um, yeah, all in all, has been hard.
So Khalees, your fiance is, and I told you when I first found out he was your fiance, I said his elevator goes to the top floor. Like
To this
he's playing
day.
at, yeah, he's playing at a very high level. Do you ever get the itch to go back? Do you ever,
No.
just being around the game? Because you in a different, you're still around the game. You're just
Yes.
on another side of it, right?
I,
Your perspective is different. But do you get the itch to be like, man, let me get out there, call my agent to see, I mean, I'm I'm feeling good today.
yeah.
Have you ever thought about it like that?
No, honestly, like I've had my agent call me a few times and been like, "Hey, are you considering going back to playing?" And even where we're at now in Spain, there's a women's team playing in the top division, and they even reached out and was like, "Hey, we heard you're here. Like, are you still playing, or do you want to make a comeback?" And of course, it's been tempting, and it's been so tempting because it is my comfort. Like, if I was to lace up
Yeah.
my shoes, I know exactly what I need to be doing. Like, the protocol is clear. The space I'm in now, it's so unclear, and I'm wearing so many different hats, and it's so uncomfortable. But if I went back to my comfort zone and playing basketball, then I would just be erasing all the hard work that I had already done, and I would have to start eat again. And starting again wasn't something that I was willing to do because it took me 2 years to get here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can honestly like love watching my fiance play. I love it. I love being able to some days go to the gym with him. I love on days that sometimes honestly I work out with him. Like, if like we're in the States, I'll run a basketball workout with him just because I can, because I still have a wealth of health in me. I'm still fully functioning, no aches and pains, because I still have a great relationship to basketball. It was never,
Yeah.
I left the game on my own choice. I love that I owned it, and I left it on a high. Like, I was I was playing the best basketball. I was my best basketball when I retired. Um, there were all good things.
So you got to leave the game on your own terms.
Yes, and I own that, and I love
Oh,
it. That is like the story of my career. I got to own it.
I was able to leave when I felt like it too, and I'm just like you. I sleep well at night knowing that.
Yeah.
I don't have to go back based on just that because I when I said I was done, it was done. Like it
Yeah.
was like, and then someone asked me to come back and play, and I'm like, I got 3 kids, man. Like I'm not I'm not trying to be in your gym at 10 o'clock. Are you
Nope.
kidding me? No way. I don't have to anymore.
No.
You
I
know.
mean, there's always a number, and I told DJ, and we both laughed at it, and I said, yeah, if they were to offer
DJ,
me
her fiance is DJ Stevens, by the way. That's when I talk about elevators.
Steffens, DJ Steffens.
Steffens, DJ Steffens. Sorry, his elevator goes to the top floor, so Google him. But but yeah, what were you saying,
No,
Khalees?
I said there's always a number. So I mean, sure, if people were to offer me 6 figures to go back to playing basketball today, happily go. He will be going to buy my basketball shoes as we speak. So, but I know that's realistic. Nobody's paying me 6 figures to play in the same city as he is. So, if somebody wants to, hey, that would be great for both of us. But I also
Sign
know
me
that
up,
that's
coach.
yeah, put me in. I will be the best water girl ever. But there's always a number, and the number would make sense then. Someone wants to pay me
Yeah,
6 figures, it would make sense to play basketball.
there you go. There you go.
That's a business
So,
transaction.
Khalees, you not only are you doing mental coaching and just helping people repair and get through. I also saw you on TV. What you got going on, Khalees? Now you're a reality TV star in Sweden. I'm seeing commercials on TV here in Denmark. I'm like, man, she is on
Really?
fire. What you got going on, Khalees? How do you get on? Of course, I don't want to know the results of the show because
I
it's
can't tell you anyways.
yeah the premiere just came out. But how did that come about? Getting on a Survivor like show.
Okay, so this is a literal translation is champion's champion. It is retired Sweden retired. Okay, let me take that all again. Okay. So basically a literal translation would be champion's champion. It is retired Swedish athletes across the board who compete in non-sports specific uh exercises or competitions in pairs or in teams and as individuals. And obviously, it's like the goal is to win your last title. And I've been watching it since I was young. Like when I tell you it's been going, this is the 17th season. So I've been watching it
Oh wow.
for years. And I always told my mom, like, that's so cool. Like, I wonder what it'd be to be on it. And honestly, last year, beginning of the summer, when I got the call to be like, hey, would you be, interested in like being casted for it? I said, wait, this isn't a joke, right? Because the
Wow.
first thing I did was call my mom and I was like, someone just asked me if I would potentially be interested in like being a part of it. Like, it's hard to describe when you've been watching something for so many years. And then, I was finally like accepted and I was on a flight, from the States to Spain to be a part of it. Insane.
That's crazy. Of course, I saw the content that you posted on your page, and I'm living in Denmark. We have some Swedish channels, and then I'm flipping through the channels, and the Swedish channels come up, and I see you like jumping in some water. So I was like, what? I was like, I thought I was tripping, and then you posted it on your page, and I was like, man, Khalees is on TV competing, and it looks like some military training competitions or something. I was like, oh man, this is wild. This is wild. No, that's crazy though. And congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats. That's a hell of a transition, like to be in the gray area to now being a TV star, you know what I mean?
No, it's incredible. And I'm so, so, so thankful for like the opportunity because I thought it was like about it being a competition, but I came out of that competition with a wealth of knowledge and like confidence in a sense. I was the one who like did my latest journey into the gray zone. So a lot of them have already been retired at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They're all in their next steps out of that gray zone. So me
Okay.
coming in there, being in my gray zone, they were so supportive, so encouraging, gave me a wealth of like feedback and advice for handling that gray zone. And it was just such a exciting place to be at. And at the end of the day, like, it wasn't even about the competition at that point. It was just like the community that I built with them. Like till this day, we still have our group chat and we talk
That's so
about
cool.
life. We share like things that are happening. Like we just built a house. Like people are like, what's the update on your house? People are, pregnant, and like people just graduated from the police academy. Like there's so many things that was so much bigger than the competition in itself for us.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And again, you were able to go into a community of people who you're all having a shared experience.
Yes.
And like I'm just playing it through in my mind. It's just like at a certain point, you probably don't even know the cameras are there.
No, we get into conversations and they're like, can you say that again? Can you ask the question again so we can get that on tape? And we're like, yo, we're in the middle of a whole like deep conversation. You want me to like retake, like ask the question again so, they can get it on tape. And so, cause it's interesting conversations that we do have and we get into them so naturally and we bond so quickly because we lived in a villa all
Okay.
together. And we were recording from like when we woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning to like literally good night at 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, no, it was just, we made natural connections so fast because we all lived a similar lifestyle, although very vastly different. That was what was so cool. We were, I think, 5 team athletes and 3 individual athletes, and also like learning about the different perspectives of only having yourself accountable versus having somewhere where you're like a duo or where you have a team of 10 or 12 people. And the difference is in mentality, like a lot of the team players thrived in the team exercises because we were like, okay, who's doing what? Like we're delegating, we know we all need to accept a role, versus struggling in the individual activities because you're like, oh man, like it's on me now. Like I know in certain things I was like, I mean, there's no way. Like I know I can like try my hardest, but this is not my strength at all.
Oh man. So hey, it's not only a physical test; it's a mental challenge as well.
Oh, but
Again,
it's
like
so vastly different because there it suits everyone differently. There's puzzle things, there's strength, there's static strength, there's just like raw strength. There's so many different areas where you can be good at.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Khalees is just fantastic, and it's also like a cherry on the top, right? Like you were in a space of not knowing what's next to now being a person who could positively affect others, being on TV, and like I said, your fiance as well. So you about to get married soon, which is crazy. Not only do you have your
Yes.
own stuff going on, you're about to become a one in a partnership.
Yes.
So, Khalees, we're at the end of the episode, and I'm interested to know what's next for you going forward.
What's next is probably what I'm sitting in right now, which is like mental performance coaching. Trying to obviously get better as a mental performance coach, and also continue to building on that platform, building on the momentum. Because of like the TV show in Sweden, I am still relevant and building on that. Continuing to work with like the national team because at the end of the day, I want to positively influence the next generation, both like individually, but also on a national team level. And so continuing to work together with the national team and the mentor space, because I think that we have so many good players that we still need to utilize them, even though we're not good on the court. We're still good for other things.
Mhm.
And also building on my relationship. I found, I would say, love later in my career,
Mhm.
and building a family, and I think it's beautiful. It is. I mean, you want to share your life with someone. At least I do. You know that as well. So
Look at Khalees over there blushing and stuff.
yeah, yeah, he makes me
DJ
blush.
got this lady blushing, man. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, no, but I'm really I'm just happy for you, Khalees. Like seriously, I'm happy for you. Like just it's not easy to go from doing something that you love so much, something that you dedicate your life to now having to start over essentially and just kind of move on with some of the nuggets and some of the things that you have in your bag and just push forward down that road. It's it's not easy, but it definitely makes it easier when you have a partner and a companion who can help carry that weight for you sometime. So congrats to you on that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
so Khalees, I like to do this on every single episode with everyone that I talk to. Um, this segment is about manifestation.
Okay.
So we're going to use manifestation and as a tool for us to help us speak these wonderful things into existence. And you can use my show as a tool when you accomplish this to come back and say, I told you I was going to do it.
Hmm.
So this is the question. What would you like to manifest here on the show? That could be personal, professional, or both. Tell me the wildest thing that you can imagine for yourself or for your family. And we're going to use this as a tool moving forward. So you got the floor. Personal, professional, or both. It's up to you.
I would say that I'm going to be one of the most sought after mental performance coaches out there. I mean, it's going to take my time to get there, but I think there's a time and space for everything. And I'm going to be a person that players come to when both off the court stuff, but also on the court stuff. How do you have a successful career? I I had a successful career. I know the recipe. It's easy.
There you go. Listen, all that good juju is out here. Khalees
Oh,
is out here,
I have
Loyd.
another one. I have another one
Run
as
it up.
well.
Run it up.
Okay. I also believe you can have both. I think you can have love and a career. Um, I think that it is important to understand and value how much love impacts you being around people who make you better as well.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm living in it. They say you have to sacrifice something on one end or the other. But listen, that's the battery right there. If you have love in your life, this is that love, Khalees, is something that people have been fighting for centuries for.
Yes.
Some people will never be able to really get that love and hold on to it. So now that we have it, I mean
Holding on
that's
for my
like
dear life.
that's I'm telling you, it's like hitting the lotto. It's
Yes.
it's, it's definitely worth fighting for. As a person who's also in that space, it's something worth fighting for. So imagine being able to love on somebody and
Hmm.
then being the top mental performance coach in the world. Like, just how crazy is that?
Man, I
It
tell you.
it ain't that crazy because you about to get it. You said it.
Yep.
It's done. You just gotta, one foot in front of the other and go
Yeah,
get it.
it's a process. It's a process. I'm willing to do it.
There you go. All right, Khalees. So listen, that's it. That's it. We at the tail end of the show. Khalees, before we get out, give us your socials so people can get in contact with you. They can follow you, get your content, etc., and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Well, it's easy. Khalees Loyd on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. That's where you're gonna find me. My website, KhaleesLoyd.com. So that's where I'm at. Get in touch. You want to chop it up? You need mental performance help? Like I'm your girl.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, tap in with Khalees Loyd, mental performance coach extraordinaire, former professional basketball player, legend in her own right. And Khalees, before we wrap up, I just want to say, listen, I told you about your impact of your father on my life. I think about him often, and every time I see you get a win, I'm always tipping my cap to him and your mother, of course,
For
and,
sure.
and your mother. So uh, I could imagine for your parents that you're making it really proud. For me, as a person who came in as a result of the relationship with your father and I at your basketball camp many, many years ago,
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that you're winning. I'm happy to see that you're happy, and I can't wait to see what's next.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It's a testament to his legacy, no doubt. It's so emotional for me because he's impacted so many people. I've had so many beautiful stories from other people about the impact he had on their lives, and I think that that's how we want to leave the world, like a better place. You helped somebody else out along the way, and so that you can take that with you and pass it on to the next generation.
for sure. And anything you need from me, you got me, because I hold people down whether they're in the physical or whether they're in the spiritual. I'm gonna hold them down. So if you need anything from me, I'm saying out in public, it ain't no question. Just holler at me. All
I
right.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
All right, Khalees, we about to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do when we get out of the episode. It it costs nothing to be good to someone. Be good to someone today. I'm your host, Rob Fields. She is the wonderful Khalees Loyd. And we catch you on the next one.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace.